Hi guys, it's Harvey from All Parts. I'm going to talk about a couple of pet peeves of mine on a STA RITE pool heater. I happened to look at one today and I voided out the warranty. Really didn't want to do it to the guy, but well, you have to do what you have to do. So I always say read and understand your manual. I am not going to read this manual for you. If you're a big enough person, read it. You don't understand it, read it again until you understand it. But it's basically common sense, especially if you install your heaters all the time. These are your standards on pool chemistry, okay? Just not pH, okay? Everybody thinks it's just pH. It's not, all right? This, if you're out of balance, will void your warranty. Got a leaky heat exchanger and it's 6 months old or it's a year and a half old, guess what? I can prove very easily it's pool chemistry just by pulling off the header and seeing copper looking at it's gone. So I can prove it's pool chemistry. And I can very easily prove that it's not over. If you add too much water too much quickly, over 120 gallons a minute, I can prove that you're not pushing 120 gallons a minute. Because if you plumbed it, most people plumb it with an 1.5 inch pipe. It's impossible to push 120 gallons through an 1.5 inch pipe. You try to argue that one through a deadbeat horse, ain't gonna work. Okay? It's not gonna work. You're lucky to see tally ho. You're lucky to see 60. Really forcing it at one time, I did see 80 out of 1.5 inches. I don't know how. I don't know if my meter was broken, but I did see 80, which I really don't believe. 40 to 60 is your realm for 1.5 inches, depending how many 45s, how your hydraulics is done. But anyway, read and understand your manual on your STA RITE heater. This is very important. The reason why this is important, I'll go off beat, and this happens to new owners. They go for a salt system, and the person says, yeah, man, that's the greatest. All you have to do is look at this dial, and if it rains, add salt. Watch this, and that's all you have to do. The consumer knows nothing about pool chemistry. You just told them to watch the salt level. You did not educate him that he's got to do this. Number one, he's destroying his equipment. Number two, it's not saying much about you being in the pool with a pH of about a 1.5. I saw a pool this year, and I brought it to 3 chemists. They couldn't even read the pH. It was that low. One said it was a 0. Okay? But anyway, I just love my job. All right. Big pet peeve of mine. Bonding and grounding. I don't care if you're a licensed electrician and you tell me it's the same thing. You are wrong. Bonding and grounding are 2 separate things. If you think they're the same thing, you are wrong. You need to go back to school and get re-educated. Now, usually I like bonding. The bonding screw is underneath the STA RITE heater. I think in US, I think it's a number 8 bare copper. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a number 8, and Canada's a number 6. Don't quote me on that. I'll pull out my rule book because I kind of get the 2 confused. But I think we're number 6 bare copper. Bare copper. Nothing else on bonding will suffice. All right. And the other thing is, if you have a timer on your pool heater, an A number one, if you install a pool heater and say, hey, I'm going to put it on its own circuit breaker, well, basically, you pretty much voided out your own warranty, because it has to be connected. Whatever turns off the pool pump, the last thing that turns off the pool pump, that's what it's connected to. That STA RITE heater is connected to. So if that pool pump turns off, that STA RITE heater turns off. Okay? But this is one thing nobody thinks about, guys. Read line number 6. I'm not going to read it for you. Read it on line 6. All right? Big thing. If you do have a timer, all right, are you running the heater? I mean, you're shutting down the heater and letting that pool pump run for another 15 minutes and then shutting down? Or did you just spend the $130 and got a regular time clock and threw it in there, and you didn't go in the firewall and wire it correctly, and so when the pool pump turns off, your heater turns off, but what happens with all that heat? Say it's been running for 2 or 3 hours. What happens to that heat? It starts twisting and bending your copper heat exchanger. That's why they want you to do line 6 is very important. Again, this is pet peeves of mine. And this is also, it tells you what line 1 and 2 is. All right. So, and here's the low voltage. All right. That's a big pet peeve of mine. Let's see one more bit. Oh, big pet peeve. I see it all too often. Even propane people do this to me all the time. And I void out the heater. Doesn't matter. I go there. I take it apart. I see this. I snap a picture. I bring the picture to STA RITE. The heater is void. There needs to be a union outside the heater cabinet. And I say outside the heater cabinet. It's so many times I see a union inside the heater cabinet. Okay, they know that they need a union. They have a little bi-close, 3/4 bi-close. They got a union, and they got an 8-inch pipe. And all these matter too. Well, what can happen outside the heater if the union loosens up and some gas does bubble out? Yeah, it's a big deal, but you know, probability of explosion is really slim. But you put this union in this gas cabinet, okay, and it starts leaking and surrounds that, and that fan motor turns on to start start firing up your heater, and it sucks all this propane. You got a massive explosion. Number one, if you did it, well, whoever did it is, if they killed anybody, is going to go to jail. And if you didn't pull a permit and you killed somebody and you did it, you're going to jail. And don't, read this line, okay? We'll void your warranty. It's written right here. I keep saying, read and understand your manual. It's not hard. If you read and understand your STA RITE manual, you know everything how to fix your heater. Long as you have a positive and negative manometer and you have a voltmeter with an amp probe, you got no big deal. You can diagnose these puppies real easy. All right, just read and understand your manual. Even if you have it so-called done by a pool professional, you ask for the manual and you read and understand it. I always call, not to insult anybody, I say read and understand it, that a 6-year-old can understand it. If a 6-year-old can understand this book, which they probably can, they'll explain it to you. So you go outside and you look at the pretty pictures and make sure that your heater is done that way. All right? Now, here's another big pet peeve. First comes the pump, then the filter. And if you just have a heater, after the filter comes the heater. So many times I see pool pump, heater, filter. What's wrong with that is if this heater is on and the copper coils are hot, which they are, any minute rocks, dirt, debris grabs on to that copper coil and it'll ruin your heater. So to do it right, it is pool pump, pool filter, pool heater, acid check valve, chlorinator, online or offline, doesn't matter. If you want to, do a check valve, a Hartford loop, and then a chlorinator. Now, there's a lot of discussion on salt generated systems. Now, they're supposed to turn off with a flow switch. They all recommend they also turn off by the pool pump. But I would not do that to keep your warranty. I would still put a check valve in there, even if I got a salt system. You would have to call the manufacturer if they would honor a Hartford loop. I would accept a proper Hartford loop. Sometimes if I know it's a bad application and the chlorinator's down low and the heater's up high, chlorine gas lights going up, rock shit's up, and chlorine, especially if it's on a timer, really gets to acid check valve. I mean, do you change your acid check valve once a year? The answer is going to be no. Okay? It's been in there 8 years. How bad can it be? It's leaking. Change it once a year. My website sells them all day long. That you just unscrew and screw it back in. You're done. Takes you 20 seconds. All right? So, unfortunately, this person, what he did, this pool professional, he did this heater, and he put his offline chlorinator below the heater, and he angled up to this heater. The pool pump ran for 6 hours. The rest of the time was off. The chlorinator was there, building up chlorine gas, and rocket ship up to that copper heat exchanger. And guess what? Ate it out in 6 months. His warranty is void. I had the pleasure of doing that today. Let's talk a little bit about minimums. 200 is 20 gallons a minute. This is minimums. 333 is 33 gallons. 400,000 is 40. I like to see all 80 gallons a minute across the board here. If you are running more than 120 gallons a minute, then this is capable of, you must put a bypass in with a flow chart. If you ever had a dry fire, also let you know, this is a pop-off. I think it pops off at 30. It might be 50. I think most pool pumps are 30, so it might pop off at 30. It may help you doing dry fires. Dry fires crack the manifold. You got to put a new manifold in. Very expensive proposition. All right. So let me talk about one other thing. Pet peeve of mine. I love talking about this. I'm getting close to my end. If you have a pressure cleaner, it is pool pump, pool filter, pool heater, pressure cleaner, chlorinator system. Okay? The reason why the pressure cleaner will rob water from your pool heater. So that's why if you have a pressure cleaner, it's pool pump, pool filter, pool heater, pressure cleaner, chlorinator. All right, guys, I'm close out to my 15 minutes. Take care. Get any questions? Before you call me, make sure you read and understand your manual, and you have a positive and negative manometer and proper meters. And I will try to help you. Take care.